Hi, everybody. Welcome to this live edition of the Atheist Experience. Today's Sunday, April 18th, 2010. I'm your host, Matt Delaney. Joining me this week, Jen Peoples. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Where the hell have you been?
Yeah, it's like I haven't done this show in a month or so. As far as you know, I'll actually talk about what we did at Bradley University here in just a couple minutes. Cool. But thanks everybody for tuning in. As I mentioned, we're live. This is a public access call-in television program with snazzy camera moves and backgrounds. We're down to one camera, the other one's broken. So yeah, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. This program, as I mentioned, is live. It's sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state, something that I'll be speaking about in just a moment, believe me. The ACA has weekly meetings every Sunday at Romeo's on Barton Springs Road, beginning at around 11:30, except for the first Sunday of the month, when we host our lecture series at the Austin History Center, located at the corner of 9th and Guadalupe, or Guadalupe if you're an Austinite, and Guadalupe if you're not. The lecture series starts about 12:15. I don't have the information. Oh, the May lecture is going to be the election stuff. So if you're a member of the Atheist Community of Austin, you should show up to determine who your officers are going to be for the board of directors for the coming year. I don't have information about who's running. There will be more information at the ACA website, www.atheist-community.org. You'll also find a frequently asked questions page there, links to other information about what the ACA is about, and you can, from there, direct yourself to the website for this program, www.atheist-experience.com. That site, if you dig around, there's an archive link which has links to full episodes of the show. The show's been on for more than 12 years, I think now. And you can find links to clips that have been posted by fans. But if you've only been watching the show through YouTube clips, etc., you can go to that site, dig in the archive, and find full episodes, including episodes that were produced before I was even an atheist. So, good stuff there. There's also information specifically designed to answer questions about people who want to use the content. For people who are posting YouTube clips, we've got a couple of short ending clips to put on there with information that will direct people back to the ACA's website. And there's information about the licensing, etc., Creative Commons license, share alike. You can find more information at that website. If you don't get through on the telephone today, and we'll have the number up for you shortly, or if you don't want to get through, you can email tv@atheist-community.org. That goes to myself, the co-host, most of the people behind the scenes. We cannot possibly answer every email that comes in, although I do my level best to get through a bunch of them. I think I'm only about 120 or so behind at the moment. So if you've been sitting there at home silently or maybe even loudly cursing, why hasn't that Matt guy written me back yet? That's why. It feels like a month since I've done the show, and it's because they've been out of town, and we'll get to some of that in just a moment. But in addition to this program, the ACA also sponsors what was a bi-weekly internet audio podcast called The Nonprofits. Nonprofitsradio.com, PROPHETS. You can find more information about the show. As it stands now, there hasn't been a show for a month or so due to scheduling conflicts, and there won't be a show this coming Saturday due to a scheduling conflict. So for all the people who are like, hey, where's our nonprofit show? What's wrong with you guys? It's only every other week. Why can't you get it done? There's a lot of scheduling conflicts. The show is not dead. We are not dropping the show. What we're going to be doing is talking to all the people involved in the show and seeing if we can't find another day because there's more and more conflicts on Saturday. So we're going to see what we can do about getting it slotted into another evening or whatever to get the show up and do some makeup shows. My girlfriend's even volunteered to go through a book and do some via Skype ad hoc nonprofits makeup shows. So we'll see what we can do. After this program's over, everybody involved gets together and goes to dinner at Threadgill's, 301 West Riverside Drive. You can ignore the window that's popping up over on this side here. We'll be down there with the show's on until about 6 o'clock. We'll be down there around 6:30, and we'll stay there until, well, we're done eating and done chit-chatting. Any atheist or atheist-friendly person is welcome to join us. You do not have to be a member to attend any of our events. They're all open to the public. Next week's show, by the way, is shifting times again. It's the once a month when we're currently having to sacrifice our slot for training at the public access studio. Do not call and complain. The option was they own the studio. They need to use the studio. Either the show gets canceled or it gets moved, and they were nice enough to allow us to shift it. Next week we'll be on from 7:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Central. So it starts 3 hours later than it would have. You can do the math for whatever time zone you happen to be living in. Jen and I will be back that week for about an hour, and there will be no dinner at Threadgill's next week due to the schedule bumping. I wasn't here last week, and Jeff D graciously volunteered to jump in and host with Don. I haven't seen the show, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. And Russell and I were out of town at Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. I've done a write-up at my Facebook page, and Russell's done a write-up at the Atheist Experience blog, which is atheistexperience.blogspot.com. Briefly, we got in Friday evening. We did a kind of tag team lecture. Russell started with hey, that was a cool transition, actually. I like it. Good job, Frank. Russell started in with an Atheism 101 and a quick look at skepticism. And after he was done, I rehashed in an abbreviated version the lecture that I gave at Pullman in Washington State a couple of weeks ago on the superiority of secular morality. That took us through Friday night after an hour or so of questions. And Saturday, we did a kind of special edition of this program. We moved to a bigger lecture hall, set up a table that I think is made by the same person that makes this table, these little white cheap plastic tables we use. And Russell and I sat down. We went through some common arguments that apologists make, the fallacies involved, and took questions from the crowd, including some really entertaining back and forths from a few Catholic students in the back of the room. I don't know what it is, but we can always tell when we sit down roughly the religious affiliation of anybody in the room. And the Catholics and Protestants tend to sit at the very back in a group where they can whisper to their friends, which is fine. I was just glad they came. We had a good time talking. I think we went for like 2.5 hours on Saturdays. It was actually a longer show than we do here. And then Sunday we flew back, and that was our weekend. What was your weekend like?
Let's see, I chased a kid around and had him hanging off of me half the weekend. And I did work and showed up here and hung out with Jeff and Don. And
so your weekend was just kind of normal?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I asked that. We got phone lines. We've got phone lines up, and there's already people waiting. We'll get to them as soon as we can. There's a couple of news bits that we want to get out of the way. Yeah. Obviously, everybody and their brother emailed to let us know about the district judge ruling that the National Day of Prayer is unconstitutional. Something that we've all known for ages. This is a subject we get asked quite a bit because we support separation of church and state, and so I support the Freedom from Religion Foundation's efforts to have this case get to trial and get the judge's ruling on the constitutionality of the National Day of Prayer. We, in the past, have done National Day of Reason events in conjunction with the National Day of Prayer right at the Capitol. It's not the objection, as we've noted in the past, is not to prayer. Anybody is entitled to pray, welcome to pray. They can pray on the steps of the Capitol. They can get together and do it as churches and groups. It's public land. All they have to do is reserve it. They go there and pray till their knees hurt. The objection has been the government's official endorsement of the National Day of Prayer as a violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. It's not the government's place to direct people or direct the nation to prayer. And a district judge has finally ruled on that case and ruled that it is unconstitutional. And I am monumentally embarrassed to announce that immediately after the ruling came out, the Obama administration announced that, we really don't care so much about what that judge has to say. We're going to do the same thing we did last year, and the president's going to go ahead and sign a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer.